That creates a forum, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome all of you to the annual meeting of the Tupelo Standard Owners Association. Thank you very much for coming. I'd like the attendance. First order of business is the treasurer's report. On the table back there was the budget for 2012. The budget for 2012 was very similar to 2011. We had some increases in a few different areas. First, I'll go through the revenues. The revenues should be up. We have a balanced budget, so the revenues reflect an increase to the MSOA. For your understanding, what the MSOA does is makes a budget, and then from the pari-mutuel account deducts monthly 1/12 of the budget and deposits into the MSOA operating account. We're looking at probably the same membership dues, interest income the same, everything the same except pension expense reimbursement. We had a increase this year where we reimburse ourselves from the expenses for the driver trainer retirement and room retirement. So our budget for 2012 is $755,783. The proposed budget for expenses, most of them are very similar. There's a few increases if you go about a quarter of the way down the page. Increase in lobbying and legislative. As most of you know, we battle every year to try to keep the Resource Development Fund intact and try not to let the state get into it. Last year we hired, with PHHA, we hired another lobbyist to split the cost, so we have an increase from last year in that line item. Excuse me. Public relations. There's been a lot of discussion among the board as to that we're not doing enough in the public relations area, so we have doubled our budget for next year, and we're looking for ways to increase our awareness to the public. One small item on the meetings. We've been having our monthly meetings at the MSOA trailer or office, so we have cut back on that budget somewhat. Further on down the page, third-party liability, there was an increase this year of the premium. We purchased that from Harness Horseman International, and we passed that on into our budget. Special contributions, that has gone from $10,000 to $60,000. This year the board decided with the research, the Pennsylvania State Research Vet College, to increase the funding for them in the view that there are new drugs out there that they're testing for, and there's been pressure from throughout the industry for horsemen's associations to contribute to the research, trying to increase the integrity of the business. So it's in the budget. We're not sure whether that will pass again this year, but for budgetary purposes, it's there. And you'll notice the expenses are the exact as the revenue, so we have a balanced budget. Moving on to the pari-mutuel account. The top half of the page is our pari-mutuel revenues. This year, we budgeted $13,156. This coming year, we're budgeting it at $13,500,000. Interest income similar, and so coming down to the expense portion of it, we've budgeted $13 million. That was a little bit high for this year. The actual payouts were in the $12 million range. So coming down, we go to Comcast. We budgeted the same as last year. The county fair purses that we contribute to the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes program at the fairs. The fair operations, which we assist with, are a little higher for this year. The groom's health insurance is up $50,000 over last year, and that's because we continue to get more enrollees each year. Backstretch improvement, that was an agreement that was put forth between the board and track management to finish the 3 remaining barns that are being put up now. Moving into the gaming purse account, last year it was 24 million. We had a pretty good year, had an increase, and what we generally do is pay exactly what we have on income. And for the last year, we've been very fortunate that the income has been almost exactly what we have been paying out. So we have a static number that we're staying with there. The interest income, we probably over budgeted a little bit last year, 17,000. It's going to come in somewhere around 11 to 12,000, so we put in the correct number there. And then of course your overnight purses, 24 million we budgeted for 2011, and we paid out somewhere, we'll pay out somewhere close to 28 million this year. The gaming, health, and retirement accounts, these will be similar every year because it's the only portion of the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development Fund that was left alone when we got our haircut from the state 2 years ago. Although it was capped, so it can't get any higher, but it won't go any lower also. So that is our budget for 2012. Do I hear any questions? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the budget for 2012? Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on our agenda is the report from the President. So I'll turn it over to President Richard Gillis.
Okay, well there again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. And as everybody kind of can tell with just about how many people come to our meetings, I think a lot of people are kind of content with what's been going on. I mean, as far as we all complain about this and that, but overall business has been staying pretty stable for us. Purses have been maintained throughout the year this year. Not being able to have to take any purse decreases or anything like that, of course, was a major thing today. And overall, our membership, it's up to 695 people, which is getting to be, it's not quite our largest amount, but it's up from over last year. So that's a good thing. Our associate membership, it's up somewhat, and there again, like Kim was saying about the grooms, we're finally getting more people involved to realize health insurance is available for them. So hopefully we can get that to even get a little higher so we get more people taken care of and what have you with the health insurance. The purses, as Kim stated in the figures that are showed there, hopefully in 2012 the purses should pretty much remain the same as long as everything stays intact to where there's no mishaps with the casino and of course our horse racing. We'd like to get the racing handle up a bit, and that's why we are spending additional money in marketing this year, and hopefully we can get some ideas from people out there, that anybody has some ideas that can help us somewhat. We're willing to listen at any time, so feel free to come up anytime and give us some input on that kind of stuff, because there again, we'd like to try to get the racing handle to get up there a little higher than what it is, because unfortunately it's not, you know, it's going the other direction instead of up, so we'll have to keep working on that. Our backstretch improvements is all people can see. We've got 2 barns up and people's in them. There again, they're very, I think, very nice barns, and everything that's in them hopefully is state-of-the-art. We tried to make sure that when we build them that we didn't cut any corners, and hopefully they're going to be there a long time. 2 more barns supposedly by Christmas is going to be available, to where we're moving all the guys that are in the other barns that aren't up to code, let me say that, are going to be put into those barns, along with 1 additional barn that's going to be built hopefully by mid-January, 1st of February. That's going to be available. So it looks like right now we're going to have 5 barns up and available for our use by February 1st, if weather and everything cooperates for us. So it's a big positive note that we are building barns, even, you know, although we had to implement a stall rent of $100 a month to help build those barns, I think it's a very positive thing that, you know, that we do have them building barns instead of tearing them down, which in a lot of other racetracks, that's what's going on. So it's just another positive thing that we keep, you know, pushing at them, and hopefully we can get the barn area to where it's very comfortable for everybody that's here involved. Our health insurance program this year for the drivers and trainers, we did have a slight increase, but it was only 4.9%, and we're going to absorb the cost on that, so it's not going to be an additional cost to the drivers and trainers at this point in time. And as far as the trainer-driver retirement is concerned, it's probably going to be pretty much the same as what we got in 2010, which those figures will probably stay pretty stable from now on. I mean, they're not going to fluctuate a whole lot unless there's some miracle thing happens. So the other thing to just shed a little light, there's been a lot of talk that the new track up in the Newcastle area is a go. So what that's going to do to us on down the road, a year, 2 years probably, by the time it is completed and up, it's supposedly going to be a mile track. We're working, trying to where we can be involved with a lot of the race dates and things like that, because it'll definitely be a factor on our business here at the Meadows. So there again, it's things that we got to keep on top of and try to make sure we have our foot, you know, where it should be as far as to try to get the best deal for all of our people here. So hopefully we can continue to do that, and that's pretty much all I got to say today. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Rich. Next on our agenda is the report on the election results. We'll start with the Director of Elections. Our accountant, Sarah Daniels, is here.
In the owner-director category, the winners were Jack Hyatt and William Mercury. And in the trainer-driver category, the winner was Rich Gillock.
Congratulations to the winners. Look forward to working with you in the future. And I'd like to thank John for his service to the MSOA. We'll have a item on the agenda upstairs, but for this purpose, I'd like to thank you now. People don't realize how much time it takes for people to do this. And on top of it, John lives in Indiana, so his contribution to coming to all these meetings was extreme. So thank you much, John. The next item is the member vote on proposed bylaw amendment. It was circulated to the membership along with an election of directors. We have the proxies already in hand, but I'd like to see a show of hands of those that did not send in a proxy, that are members of the association. We have 3 present. Do you understand the subject? And I'd like to call for a vote of those 3 people only. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Cast those votes tonight, please. And that takes care of the member vote, so we need to have our accountant again, auditor, Larry Daniels, report the proposed bylaw amendment results.
It passed with 88 votes for, 7 against, and 1 abstain.
So we declare that bylaw amendment concluded and approved by the members. Rob, did you want to have a little bit of time to tell what's going on right now? Yes.
Hi, everybody. Let me just give you a quick briefing on the highlights of 2011. First, again, this was another bad budget year, $4 billion, but we survived any additional budget cuts. And that is really because of a lot of hard work, the board, and a lot of things we put in place last year. Plus the fact is we have taken cuts already. So we were one of the industries that took a cut for 4 years. We're in the 2nd year of that right now. And it was a lot easier for us to go and argue that we've already taken our hit and not to hit us again. The other thing we did this year was we unveiled the Equine Economic Impact Study by the Innovation Group. As noted in previous meetings, the MSOA, in collaboration with other horseman organizations, commissioned an economic impact study. The purpose of the study was to quantify the equine industry and the benefits to the Commonwealth. Again, I commend the MSOA board. This is one of the reasons, this is one of the things they did in advance that really was one of the tools we were able to use with the legislators and the governor's office to show not only, we also quantify within it what it meant when the 17% reduction per year was taken into effect. Quick hit was, for every dollar that's invested in the Resource Development Fund, this industry returns 2.5 times that back to the Commonwealth. So this is an economic generator. You know, you've created jobs, you've created local activity, small business, and so forth, and there's a lot of spin-off work that came with it. We continue to meet with the coalition, the other thoroughbreds, the standard breds, and now the breeders to show a unified voice in Harrisburg. It's not always easy. We all have different interests in mind, but I believe this industry is going to be closer now based on things that happened over this past year. I believe we're going to be working together closely because, you know, we want to make sure we are unified when we start talking about the sunset provision, that 17% hit for the next, you know, over the next 2 years. So we're going to have a real big effort to make sure, hopefully we can recoup as much as we can of that 17% that was cut. Hopefully all of it is the goal, obviously, but, you know, to do that, we have to be unified as an industry. We had a couple legislative events this year. The ADIOS was obviously the biggest. We had a number of House and Senate members that attended the ADIOS, including the governor's office. We're also, the next one was, we have another event coming up soon. The House Majority Leader, Mike Turzai, was scheduled to come this next Tuesday, but he had to cancel. But he did offer dates. We're going to bring him down to the Meadows, probably either in December or early January. And again, the purpose of this guy is the House Majority. He controls the agenda in the State House. He's from Allegheny County. He's from the North Hills. Our goal is to show him, give him a tour, show him, you know, really where the resource development money goes, and then hopefully people can be around to really talk about your experience, you know, what is meant to you, that sort of thing. You know, because a lot of these, we can't just assume a lot of these legislators know, you know, what, you know, they just read about it in pamphlets and through our studies and so forth. But we've been doing these tours throughout the Commonwealth. You know, a lot of these legislators in the West, but also in the East. We've toured parks. We've toured. Where was the other one? Erie. There was one in Erie, and then we did the one out. The one out in Harrisburg. Penn National. In Penn National. The other highlight from this year, well, what's going on right now this fall, this is pretty much the biggest, is redistricting. You know, every 10 years after the census is taken, the State House and Senate redraw their lines for the legislative districts. You know, this is a lot of inside baseball and politics, but the fact of the matter is it has an enormous replication of what it means to us. The things that you need to be familiar with is, in Washington County, State Representative Jesse White, his district is actually merged with another State House member in Allegheny County. His name is Nick Kodak. So Jesse White's district, is really majority now Allegheny County. I think he lost close to 80% of his Washington County base. So we're going to see what happens if he's going to survive or if Nick Kodak's going to be the rep. And then what happened was they moved the portions of Jesse White's district into another House member by the name of Jim Christiana, who's out of Beaver County. He pretty much has half of Washington County now. So a lot of you actually may be represented by him when the next census or the next election comes up. This is not finalized yet, but this is pretty much 99% accurate that this is going to happen. They still have another vote coming up. The good news is that Senator Sullivan and Representative Brandon Newman, they remain the Trex legislators. And again, they are strong champions. I think they're going to be here tonight. You know, if you do see them, you know, once again, thank them for all their work because they've really been helpful to us in Harrisburg. I'm just going to leave you with this. You know, the fight continues. You know, next year's budget, and there's a budget shortfall already. It's not going to be as bad as this year from projections. This year's was $4 billion. Next year's are looking at anywhere from $800 million to $1 billion. Sounds like, you know, what's $1 billion? But it's actually not as bad as you would think or where we have in years past. But that doesn't mean we're out of the woods. You know, because they may still look for revenues. And if that's the case, they're going to be looking at everything that they think makes sense to them to balance the budget, because that's their first goal, is to balance the state budget. We're asking, again, when the new House and Senate members are put in and the new districts are approved, what we're going to do is we're going to match up the membership of the MSOA with the new House and Senate districts, so you know who the House and Senate member are. And what we need you to do, again, is, I know it's difficult, and I know a lot of people are busy, but the fact is, you've got to get to know your House and Senate members. These people control the fate of the Racehorse Development Fund. You need to know that. I mean, every one of them, and they all have to understand what the impact is, you know, not just locally, but across the Commonwealth. What does this really, truly mean? You know, we're going to do our best to get these people here, down here, to see to the track, to see it firsthand. But they also have to hear it from you. Because, you know, when you're their constituent, and you go in and you talk to them, or if you see them at a fair, and even if you just say to them, say, you know, thanks for the Racehorse Development Fund, you know, thanks for this, because it really has helped this industry. It goes such a long way, because it's 10 times more than whatever I can do, you know, by myself in Harrisburg with the other lobbyists. The fact is, when they hear from you as constituents, it goes a lot further. So I ask, you know, we're going to get that list, and we're going to hopefully have that done probably by early January or February. And then, you know, again, if you have any questions, you know how to, you can reach me through the board and reach out.